Welcome to Playing the Culture Game. In this series, we explore very interesting people and culture topics with very interesting people. That's definitely staying in. And today's one of my special guests, Michelle Fotheringham.
Hi.
Entrepreneur, good friend, and founder of Werkling. How you doing?
Yes,
love it. Everyone has to wear swag for their episode. Mm-hmm. Awesome to have you on. How are you?
Thanks. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Better before I did that. Still pretty good. This is more representative of who I am as a person. I feel like
a demolisher. You're a creator, or a breaker and a creator.
That is too. That is not representative of you.
Absolutely not. No.
So I'm just keeping it real.
If this was representative, half of these would be missing.
Yes.
And there wouldn't be a neat. I'm trying to put on a good show for the.
And we would not
audience.
have there'd be some red ones in there as well.
Oh, it'd be mixed up. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So good to have you on. And today's special topic is going to be, we're going to get to it, the professional gig economy.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about that. But just so people get to know you a little bit, I've got a couple of little questions for you.
Sure.
The one I'd love to start with is, what's been a highlight for you, professional, personal, over the last couple of weeks? What's something that's really stood out?
The last couple of weeks?
Yeah, recent highlight, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And it can be small, it can be big. It doesn't have to be like a ginormous thing.
Let's see. I tell you what my highlight is of the last couple of weeks. I have finally stopped using COVID and the pandemic as an excuse for not exercising, because there has been no lockdowns in Melbourne for 9 months, but I have not got my routine and my focus on health back. So my highlight has been actually getting back into some exercise, reintroducing vegetables into the diet. So that's been I think it's just taken people a long time to recover from the last few years, and
absolutely.
For me it's taken 8 months. So here we are, and we're back adulting a bit more.
Yes, I thought initially when you said I've stopped using COVID as an excuse, I thought it was going to be to meet people. So it's like, sorry, I can't come catch up with you. I've got COVID. I was like, that's if someone's keeping track, they'd quite quickly catch you. It's to not exercise.
Not that. To just, it was a hard few years for everyone, but and I think we're still seeing the consequence of that in lots of different ways. And even, within my own life, it's been just getting some structure and some routine and, self-care back into it.
Yeah,
so,
it's good to hear. What's your what have you got back into? What's the exercise that you're...
I have been going to the gym.
Oh.
But I've also been trying to go for just some more walks along the beach.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to live on the beach, so enjoying the warmer blue skies make everything easier and better.
And it is, and it's a good day in Melbourne today. It's not we're lucking out, it's heading into summer, so that's nice. So you're getting back to the gym more, exercising more, eating healthier. What's the...
Yes. Well, unfortunately,
you got any secret hacks, food hacks?
No, but at the start of the pandemic, I'd never really been an ice cream person. At the start of the pandemic, discovered that I loved ice cream. So I had 40 years of ice cream to catch up on. So it's really just been stopping that.
Oh, completely cold turkey, or?
Yeah. It
is. COVID was definitely a comfort food time. I rediscovered.
Yes.
I love this Indian food called dosa, and I had so many dosa, and they're
that's like the pancake.
Yes. I don't know if I still to this day I don't know if it's unhealthy or not. I don't know.
I think it's okay.
Probably better than ice cream.
The last time I went to India, I had one of those within the first few days of arriving, and then I went in a taxi ride up a mountain, and got sick and violently threw up. And then I couldn't eat them again.
Oh, no.
For the rest of the trip, and really struggled with Indian food, which was difficult at the start of a 5-week holiday in India.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my dosa story.
That's your dosa story. I was going to say everyone has a dosa story. That's probably not true.
No.
That's good. So you're feeling good, feeling healthier. That's great to hear.
Yes.
Good. That is a good highlight, and I hope that continues through the summer.
Let's hope.
Terrific. So the next question I have for you is going to be randomly drawn from my favourite game. I'm biased, Quinks, but it's
amazing.
I'm going to pick a question.
Yes.
And ask it to you. You can ask for a redraw. You don't need to ask the question I ask you.
That's quite all right.
So you can just go, I hate that question. Don't answer that.
The first time I played this with you, there was a question. I remember what it was.
Yeah.
It's the hobby question. And I famously do not have any hobbies.
Famously.
Yes. My husband has many hobbies and I have no hobbies. Napping and eating.
Yeah.
He argues they are not hobbies.
It depends how...
I'm very good at them.
Yeah. how diligently you do them. If
Yeah.
you're like...
They bring me joy. But yeah, okay. So if it's a hobby question, we may need to revisit.
Okay. Still, so you famously no hobbies. Everyone
Well-
knows. Michelle, the first thing they say is, she's the one with no hobbies. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you look hard on my LinkedIn profile, that
somewhere
is
in the
actually
profile.
in the byline.
I hope it is. I hope it's somewhere in there now. Founder of Werkling and famously has no hobbies. It's guaranteed going to be a hobby question, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh no.
Mm.
Who has been a surprisingly positive influence on you in the context of career, work, and professional development? Easy. It's me, isn't it? It has to be me.
Well, I was actually thinking that you have been.
Oh, you don't need to. This is not for the sake of the podcast.
No, you have been. There's probably... Well, no, actually. I am going to say you.
Oh, no, you can't do that. No.
How many options did your voice
Yeah, no.
Viren's going through puberty now, so please bear with him as his voice breaks.
I used to have that coach junior soccer, and sometimes I'd get real animated, and my voice would break, and all the kids would crack. Yeah, they'd crack up laughing. They'd be like, ah!
Well, give me the question again. I just want to make sure that you fit all of the criteria.
A surprisingly positive influence.
Surprisingly.
Yes, and career, work, and professional development.
Actually, no. I am going to say you.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, well, one, I only met you because I was probably stalking your lovely wife, Bridget, who was in an internal P&C role, and I was, hunting her down and had a lovely meeting with her, and then she was like, "You've got to meet my husband. I think you might be the same person." And then I did meet you, and you were obviously amazing, but you were one of the first 5 people to sign up to Werkling.
Yes.
When really Werkling wasn't even a thing, and I didn't really even know you that well, and you were like, "Sure, I'll create this profile and whatever." But the positive influence has just been you being a sounding board through this journey, and you've kind of been in it with me as a Werkling, but as a friend and as a business owner who can kind of understand it all. And there's not that many other people who, have really been on the journey with me. So you've been a very good sounding board and someone who cares about how I'm going, how Werkling's going, and... yeah, it is you. Oh my God, it's you!
I'm going to blush on camera. Thank you so much. Such kind words. It's so
Is that
nice.
rigged? Like, did you think there was a chance I was going to say that? And
No.
these and the top...
I shuffled. I was like,
Did you shuffle?
Yes, I shuffled.
I didn't see you shuffle.
There's a high integrity in my game. When it comes to games, I like following, I'm not a rule follower, but games, I'm like, once the rules are agreed.
Okay.
That's very kind. Thank you. I've loved work, since we met. I think it's been great. It's I think energy,
it's a mutual
humour.
appreciation
There
society.
It is. I know. Look at this.
Well, I do often say that, while on paper we are diverse, we are actually annoyingly the same.
Yeah. Well, this is the whole big cognitive diversity, hey?
Trying to work through, when we've had to work through detail.
Together. It's been funny and annoying at the same time.
Yes, funny and annoying at the same time.
I'm sure anyone that has worked with me will feel your pain.
Yes, and I.
And you, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's made my day.
Well,
it's probably made my week, actually. Maybe my month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's nice.
Well, it's only one day. Well, we're not that far into the month yet.
Oh, this is true. If we're being very literal. I was probably talking the last 30 days. But...
okay.
Yeah.
To be specific.
Yeah.
Well, for that recent piece of work that you've done with an organisation who had reached out to me to personally do some work, and I said, no, I've hung up my consulting
I got my boots.
But there is someone who is a better version of me. And it's true. They agree.
They agree now.
Yes.
That's the first time you've admitted
yes.
that. And it's on
they
camera.
Agree.
That is...
Yeah, it's disappointing, but... True.
No, it is. It's been it has been great. Working with you, meeting
Did you say
joking-
Werkling with me then?
Working with you. I missed an opportunity there. But
It kind of. Well, I will replay that because it sounded like you said workling.
working with me. It's been great working with you.
I can no longer spell the word work. Like I can't write.
You
work.
have to write W-E-R-K.
Yeah.
It's
an occupational hazard.
I love it. I do think it's like when you embody your business. It's impossible to set. In fact, on my phone, you are Michelle Werkling.
That's offensive.
Is that offensive?
Well,
I thought
it's kind of like.
I just thought I was dropping a big compliment.
Well, it's like when you meet like your parents at your kid's school. It's like always.
Yeah.
Blah
I can see
blah.
why
So
this
and
is not so
so's
good.
mum.
I'm not veering in the game in your phone.
No,
to separate
you're not.
all the other.
But either you or Bridget, one of you, I've misspelt your surname, and whenever I am messaging or calling, I'm like, oh, I've got to fix that.
I don't know.
It's the last R is something else.
So this-
T. It's a T.
It's a T.
Yeah.
Thakrar.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, for one of you.
Yeah.
But again, not uncommon in my phone. Many
What,
spelling
misspellings?
mistakes. Yeah.
No, I think there's like two types of people in the world. You've got people that will fix those things immediately, and people that say they're going to fix those things and never fix them.
Yeah.
And I think we're in the same camp there.
You know-
I'll still keep you as Michelle Werkling, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Someone was actually messaged me this week saying, oh, I've been trying to find you on LinkedIn and I've realised I was looking for Michelle Werkling. Like they actually thought it was
That was
my
your name.
surname. Yeah. I was thinking last night actually when I was playing one of my many Uno games with my 6-year-old that there are probably another two types of people in the world. Those who sort their Uno cards by colour when they're dealt them and those who just leave it.
You can't. No, I am in life not an organizer, but you can't not keep your cards organized.
No,
That's wild.
Yeah,
You just have like a.
just whatever.
That is See, we differ.
We don't.
We differ. But I was gonna say it has been amazing. I'll just like just
No,
see.
don't.
No, okay, wait.
Don't.
Oh, wait, I'll stop.
No.
I'll stop. We'll go. We'll move on then.
Don't.
So we are going to shortly move on to playing Connect 4
Please.
and talking about the professional gig economy at the same time.
Okay.
The Connect 4, I think most people... Well,
Your
I'm
tower
assuming...
nearly went.
Yeah, I know. I needed to do Michelle.
Oh, look, it's crumbling.
Yeah, it's crumbling. Most people would have played Connect 4. If you haven't, it's a great game. Highly strategic.
You're not going to mansplain Connect 4 to people.
There might be someone that hasn't played it, and I don't want to be like, oh, they've like turn off now because they're like, I've never played Connect 4 before.
I don't think it needs an explanation.
And the aim is I've got yellow, you've got red, and our aim is to make
What about-
4 in a row.
There might be someone who's colourblind who's watching.
Oh, sugar. Is this not I thought it was red, blue? No.
No, red and green.
Okay, so we should be. The aim is to make 4, but we've got a kicker today as well.
Connect 4.
Connect 4. Make 4 in a row. And we're going to play, we'll probably play more than one game, depending on how interesting you are as a guest. We might just get one game, like, let's just call it here. We'll probably play more than one game, and whoever wins the most games, I was going to say whoever wins the most games.
You really should have thought this through.
I know, I've totally watched this up. Either way, the game is going to donate money to the charity of your choosing.
Yes.
If you win more games than me, we will donate $150. If I win more games than you, we'll donate $75.
Ah, and what am I donating?
Nothing weird. This is
Okay.
you're free rolling here.
Okay.
Your
donate.
money's going to your charity,
Okay.
irrespective.
Oh,
You're just
okay.
getting the chance to double it if you beat.
Oh, okay.
I
Cool.
have a vague memory of playing in a Connect 4 championship in school, but I don't think I won.
So, right.
I might have some chops at this game. I don't know. Let's see.
Let's see.
And so the charity. Who's the charity of your choosing?
The Children's Medical Research Institute, who also do the Genes for Genes Day. So they obviously do research into children's disease and illnesses. And we lost our first son, Billy, when he was a bub to a genetic illness. So, yeah, really important charity that we like to support.
Thank you so much for picking the charity. I'm hoping I lose now, and you get $150 to the charity of your choice.
Well, I shall match whatever you donate, so let's do it.
Amazing. Let's do it. I'll lose on purpose, and we'll be donating $300. And we'll get cracking. Who's going to go first?
I don't know.
I just played
I
Jenga
can't
the
even
bridge.
flip these because there's
And
four
we
on
did
both sides.
rock, paper, scissors. Do you know rock, paper,
Well,
scissors?
I'm in very good rock, paper, scissors
So am I.
form.
I've got a streak going, a good streak at the moment. I was saying to Bridge, I've got very good at rock, paper, scissors. She says it's not possible.
Are your kids obsessed with it?
They keep losing and then they stop playing it to me now.
Ah.
They just pull out like a different symbol now.
Is it that one?
No, it's not that one! They just go like this. All right.
Okay, wait, I need to think. Okay, go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Yes!
So
This is good.
So you was a rock then.
I know. This is my skill. That's my talent. Yeah, that's what I should be famous for, playing rock, paper, scissors. Right, I will go first. But, to kick things off, professional gig economy. So you could have talked about pretty much any topic in the world today. There's so many things happening, interesting in the people and culture space.
Yeah, did I pick a boring topic?
No, I want to know why you picked
Okay.
professional gig economy.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just really interested in, particularly on the back of, I cannot do two things.
No, it's like, we can play slower. This is just a backdrop, so we don't need to keep this pace.
But it's in the pace. You need the pace. I am interested in how, particularly on the back of the two last couple of years with lockdowns and pandemic, that how people want to design their life and their work in a different way. And, you know, having that one job that you go to every day, you know, we've seen a lot more, you know, many different forms of flexibility, working from home, 4-day work weeks, all of that. But it's all in the assumption that people want a job and a job to go to, you know, through their week. Whereas there's a growing number of people who want to work in a different way and want to do work that plays to their strengths, that is interesting, and, you know, better aligns with the life that they want to live. And there's a whole host of implications there around reduction of burnout, you know, more inclusion and workforce participation. So yeah, it's you know, it's a choice that I made in my career. It's a choice that you made in your career. So yeah, it's a bit of it's where I spend my life really.
Yeah, amazing. And I imagine you obviously talked to lots of people that are already gone, yep, I've made the decision, or I'm on the fence. So just out of interest, if you take away the feeling of you know, security in what the perceived feeling of security people have in a permanent job, what percentage of people said, look, this is the option for you? What percentage of people do you think would go, I will just embrace the freelance gig economy life versus the life of working for one organisation for a period of time? If you're going to say, like, this is the percentage of people who've probably got this drive or desire to redesign their working conditions more flexibly, what would you say?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there was some research done maybe 18 months ago that suggested that 20% of people were seriously considering freelance or you know, professional gig work. You know, for some people it's about that security, but, you know, the idea of job security is an interesting one. You know, there's a lot of people, particularly in tech, we're seeing at the moment, who are losing their jobs. They've got the one revenue stream and that disappears, whereas others who are working, you know, freelance or in the gig economy have multiple revenue streams. So they might lose one or two or half of their clients, but they've still got money coming in. Yeah. So I still think a traditional job is more stable, but it's changing, and you can see that in the rise of side hustles. And I remember someone who works for a sporting organisation said to me during COVID, I won't find myself in this situation again where I'm reliant on this one source of income.
Wow, so it's like a bit of a wake-up call, like I'm just going to diversify how I earn money.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. And I think, look, the other thing to acknowledge, as I always say to people, people are typically in a privileged situation when they step out and work on their own. They've already had these beautiful kind of 15, 20 years careers at the moment, and have a level of economic security. So, you know, there's a bit of privilege that goes with it. But I think we'll also see that over time as the next generation enters the workforce and wants to work in a different way. All right.
So let's say, I think this is an interesting one. Even this, you know, you mentioned the concept of to be able to, you know, enter the professional gig economy, you know, having that basis, having a certain level of economic stability is going to help you. Let's say if we took that off the table, let's say there was something like a universal basic income and people that was in play. Do you imagine more people would then enter the gig economy, look at freelancing more?
I think so.
Maybe.
I think it also, I mean, there's an element of working for yourself that you're putting yourself out there. You know, you're saying, you know, I don't know, there's a level of kind of branding and self-promotion that comes with it that maybe I don't think would work for everyone. And also I think the other downside, which is something that Werkling's trying to address, is the lack of, you know, connectivity and community.
Yes.
The one thing that people will say when they move out of a job into the gig economy is they miss being a part of a team.
Yeah.
So we're trying to create that sense of community and belonging. You know, we know that inclusion and belonging is something that a lot of organisations put effort into for their workforce, but then what does it mean for everyone else? And I think there's two parts to that. So one is, as a collective, how does that community support one another? But then over time, as organisations become more reliant on this talent pool, how do we also create that sense of connectivity back to the organisations that they work with?
Yeah.
Because while the nature of the gigs might be short term, the relationships are long term. So how, as an employer, if I've used Viren for a project, but I might want to use him again in 6 or 9 or 12 months' time, how do I still help him feel connected to what's going on here, in the hope to, you know, attract him back for another piece of work?
Yeah.
So there's a whole piece there that's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, super interesting. I think from a couple of different perspectives, but even from a perspective, let's say they've got someone, they like someone, they might not be retaining them for the immediate period of time, but they want to be able to attract them back again. And if you create a shoddy experience as employer to the freelancer.
And there's a few organisations, particularly in the creative space, who are a bit of ahead of the curve on this, being really reliant on
well done. There's one to you. That was you eyed that up straight away. You were like, this is coming.
Yeah. I'll distract him with my chatter.
I know.
And I'll go
I missed it.
Kill.
You killed me. You can go first.
There are organisations in the creative space who, I guess, the creative world is probably a little bit ahead in terms of freelancing, in terms of, you know, videographers and graphic designers. And there's organisations who are reliant on that workforce and are starting to look at what their people and talent strategies are. So how do I make them want to come back and do the next gig here?
Yeah.
What is the impact of our blended teams that are employees and independent talent? So it's interesting.
And have you seen, because you're obviously working with tons of employers, you've seen tons of gigs go through, have you seen anyone do this really well? Have you gone, did this, you don't need to name the organisation, but is there something they've done, they've gone, they've created a really good conditions for a professional gig worker? And what were some of the things you thought, they did these things, these were pretty cool, and if everyone did this, it would be great from the employer side?
Yeah, probably each is an organisation who we've done quite a bit of work with. And they're just quick to move. They're like, here's the need.
Yeah.
Tell us who to cut. Yep, like match to talent, and then great, let's just get it happening. There's no slow internal meetings. I think the thing that probably a lot of organisations are missing at the moment is that, you know, people like you, people who do this type of work, aren't just sitting around waiting to hear back on the the meeting that they had 3 weeks ago about a gig. So, you know, you've got your finger in many pies. Of course, once you make a commitment, like, that work is locked in, that is your priority. But, like, if you talk to someone and then think you can sit on it for 3 weeks and then think you're going to be able to lock them in, like, it's just not going to happen. So I think the organisations that I see who do it really well just move really quickly. It's probably one of the big ones.
So speed, so I imagine that kind of flows throughout the engagement, so at the beginning, throughout, they're kind of responsive. What do you kind of see then beyond that to create that kind of good working conditions? I'm responding quickly. How do they create, like, what are the good organisations that manage to bring talent back? What are some of the things they do from your observations?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think paying on time is always just a nice little hygiene factor. Giving them access to kind of the right people, being really clear on what the scope is, and just, and being really transparent with their scope changes and changes in deliverables. Yeah, I think it's just being a good person.
Yeah.
It's probably, like, it's just, it's no different to how you treat your internal workforce as well. And I think, you know, they're the organisations who, you know, we've always seen talent in such a binary way. You're either internal, you're an employee, you're a talent, or you're external, you're a vendor, you're, like, out there. But there's this place in the middle where these people are not, you know, they're not vendors. Yes, you might be paying by invoice, but they're an extension of your internal team. And you start treating them like that. And seeing them like that. So, you know, the way I see the future of work is, you know, such opportunity to go, okay, we've got our internal core team, but then we've got this bench of talent that we know, that we trust, we have, you know, the right agreements in place, and then we bring them in and out as we need. But that talent is shared. It's also they're also going to be working with other organisations as well. So I think there's a real opportunity there, and the impact that has around burnout. Right now we have, you know, say an internal comms team of 4 people. Work isn't static. You don't need exactly 4 people every day and week of the year. Work goes up and down, and we're just burning people out in those peaks. So by having a more nimble approach to designing and resourcing work, I think it's really exciting.
It is really exciting. I really love the point you just mentioned there around...
It's my turn?
I think it's mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's me. I'll go in a second. The part around how you treat them, do they is the person coming in, do they feel like they're part of the team, or do they feel like they're an external person? And I think that can be extended to, you know, often people are employing, you know, casuals, even the distinction contractors that might be there for a longer amount of time, but they're not given some of the same, you know, rights, and they don't feel like they're part of the team. It's actually not creating this exclusionary environment. I imagine pretty key to that person. Oh, I've enjoyed it. I feel part of that team. Work there.
And it depends on the nature of the work. Sometimes it's a piece of work that can be carved out and be done quite separately, but on other times, the reason why they're bringing in worklings is because these worklings are super experienced and can possibly team up with the team and upskill them in the journey as well, or where there are high level of interdependencies. I see what you're doing there.
Have I managed to do? No, I don't think I'm gonna.
I
don't think I'm gonna pull it off. No.
No, you're doing nothing.
I'm doing. I'm failing at multitasking. That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a good move or not.
That's not.
The token is telling me it's not a good move.
Well, it's not a good move if you can't even get it in the thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Let's see what happens. Oh no, it's not a good move, is it?
Well,
what have I done? That was terrible.
I don't know.
I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just going to put tokens in.
Oh no, I can't do that. What am I doing? I nearly fell for
it. My amateur tactics.
Yes.
So you've mentioned already a couple of the key, you know, as an organisation, embracing this model. There's a lot of benefits you've talked about. You know, being able to be more nimble when workload fluctuates, so you're not burning your team out, so you can bring people in. You've talked about bringing in capabilities that you don't have already. I mean, from my perspective, this seems like a no-brainer. It's like, why would you not do this? And so what do you think are some of the mindset barriers? Because logically, it seems like it makes total sense. Logically, it makes total sense because we do this all the time anyway. Like, you look at home improvement stuff. If my sink breaks, I'm not hiring a plumber for full time. I'm bringing them in to do the gig. So it's so accepted in so many other parts of our life. What do you think is the mental barrier to people doing this more in the professional context?
I think there's a few things. What?
Is it me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One is that we're so used to just designing work around time. I need someone full time, 3 days a week, full time, or 3 days a week forever, or 5 days a week for 3 months.
Yeah.
But it's like, actually, how do we pull that apart to look at what the deliverables are? I think that feels new and different for people. I think there's
So on that one, why do you think it feels new and different for people? Because I guess you imagine they should be thinking these things through anyway, like resourcing work internally, they're planning their workload. You imagine there's some process which is going, this is what people are working on, these are the projects they're working on. Why is it such a big step then, do you think, to go to breaking down just an additional layer to think about
Yeah, look, maybe we're not great at designing outcomes and deliverables.
Yeah.
We design jobs. And I don't know, maybe we just don't have the clarity of what those deliverables necessarily always are up front. I think a bigger part of it is trust. I think we're used to owning talent.
Yeah.
I have exclusive access. I have hired Viren, he is mine. I own him.
Yeah.
And that feels different when you're bringing someone in from outside the organisation. So I think that's a part of it.
So let's say I'm worried about that. Let's say it is the trust thing. It's like, oh, this person's coming into our business. They can access confidential information. What would be some of the things you go? What would be a way I could? But I don't want that to stop me from embracing the future and how work should be done. And I know my team's really busy, and I want to help them. What would you suggest someone does where they are a little bit concerned, but they still want to change? So they're I guess they're a little bit on the fence.
Yeah, I think, what we have learnt, and a part of the reason that we've set up our community through peer referral, is we know that top talent knows top talent. A bit like your plumber example. When I need a plumber, I ask my friends, who have you used? Do they do a good job?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring in. So we're helping leaders to extend their professional network and tap into people who are known and trusted. It's really a different prospect from jumping on your bigger... No one's jumping on Fiverr or Upwork to find a facilitator for their executive team.
Yeah.
So finding those pathways to trusted talent. Our talent are also corporate escapees. So they've been in, heads of HR or, GMs of brand type roles in known organisations. So I think finding the right talent pool and also just understanding their ability to deliver and their ability to have a trusting... we don't want your IP. No one's everyone, their reputation is everything.
Yeah.
They're always going to deliver and they're always going to do the right thing because everyone knows everyone. There's actually very little room for error when you're working as independent talent. So their livelihood is their reputation. So there's no, great scams going on. They need to deliver. They want you saying great things about them to your network as well. So, I don't know, probably just have the conversation and connect with them as people doing good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it shouldn't really be a major...
No.
The trust side shouldn't be a major issue.
And I don't know that that's really front of mind, but I think it's kind of deep down. And I think it's just that it's that ownership. We're so used to, before we had Netflix, we owned all of our DVDs.
Yeah.
My husband had... I invested in property before we got married. He invested in DVDs.
How many DVDs are we talking?
Those IKEA square bookshelves.
That were made for DVDs,
whole wall of them.
Yeah.
What was the point? I got distracted complaining about my husband.
Are they still... Does he still watch the DVDs or no?
No.
They're done.
They're done.
Yeah.
He tells me they're appreciating in the cupboard.
Appreciating value.
Yeah. The cases have now been thrown out, so they're in sleeves. That was phase one. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Oh, I can't go there.
So you were talking about before the emergence of things like Netflix. We were used to...
Yeah, we own, and it's the same with talent. We're used to owning it. So it is... I don't know if it's a one-on-one gig basis that there's a trust component. I think it's the broader way of reimagining organisation design where one of my hypotheses that I'm working to is we've always struggled with mobilising talent internally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of tech coming out in that space, but I don't actually think tech or a lack of technology has been the issue. It's been hoarding of talent and wanting to keep the best people in your team. I believe the mobility of talent is going to be far greater if you don't own that talent.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll have our more traditional structures within organisations. Yes, we'll have some shared talent pools, but you're also going to have this shared talent that sits externally to the organisation that you do not own.
Yeah.
And I think that is when it's going to be a lot easier to have this kind of open talent economy.
So interesting. So it's kind of like even just the And I've seen this barrier before. It's you know, a hiring manager's got a person they consider really good, and they don't really want them to move because it's going to impact their ability to deliver what they need to deliver. So if this is a mindset thing around, you know, talent is mine, and if I've hired someone, then I dictate kind of where they work and what they work on, and you've all of a sudden got to totally shift from that mindset to actually this person comes in, they might be working on a couple of other projects at the same time. It is a big shift.
It's a really big shift, and that power balance, or that power shift, shows up in different ways as well. So sometimes I'll reach out to a Werkling, and it's happened with you. I'm like, hey, there's this gig, and you're like, it's not exactly what I want to be doing right now, or I'm at capacity, I can't do it. How many times internally, if your boss says to you, hey, can you do this project? And you go, it's not really what I want to be doing right now, or I'm too busy. Like, you can't. You don't have that exchange. Whereas when you are your own boss and you are playing to, you're very clear on what my strengths are, what work is that interests me, where I want to be spending my time, you know, you have that control to go, no, I would love to do that work, but I don't want to overcommit. I don't want to burn myself out. So I'm going to say no. And, you know, I've heard before Werklings say to me, I could do it. I tell you what, Viren would it be even better at it.
Yeah.
So there's this generosity of like actually just wanting the best person to go in and do the job. I think the other thing that's quite appealing to people is just to step away. What?
I've been laying that trap for so long.
Oh, but if I had gone, I couldn't win.
No, that was a bit.
No.
I was actually. I'm quite proud of myself.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. There you go, strategic thinking.
Yeah, I can't think that far ahead.
So you're just saying, like, you get instances where, you know, Werklings will recommend other Werklings as the... Yeah. But you also touch on an interesting point there around, you know, in making work more interesting as well. Because I think that's going to be a big driver to getting the better gig talent. I guess the better gig talent will want to work on more interesting projects. And
the more value alignment as well.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, quite often in the D&I space, for example, people saying, I will not do work that is just tokenistic. Like, tell me more about this change agenda, and I'll work out whether it's something I want to contribute to or not, because if it's just bells and whistles, don't want to be a part of it.
And so all these things you mentioned, then, are a lot more... There's a lot more pressure then on the hiring manager. I've got to create. It's got to be an interesting project. I've got to be much more intentional with how I manage the gig talent. I've got to make sure we're talking walking the walk, and when we're talking the talk. So.
But it's also about just the right person for the right gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not about. You know, it's actually, you know, I've been saying to leaders, one of the things that slows them down is thinking that they need to create this brief to brief in the, you know, independent talent to come and do the work.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't. Spend half an hour, let them access your brain, tell them what's going on. They'll come back to you with a reverse brief and a bit of a proposal. Like, it's actually, it can be that easy.
Yeah, so great. So I guess it's that, comes back to that perception piece. So, you know, perception can feel like you know, trust is potentially an issue. Perception is I need to do all these things. I need to really think out the brief in a lot of detail. It sounds like a lot of these things that people think might be an issue, actually not necessarily an issue. Whoa. Slight time management glitch. I liked it. Not a technical glitch. Time management glitch. And we're back. And the editing is going to be so seamless on this that you won't even know we were gone. No. Except I'm not going to start where we finished because I can't quite remember where we finished. But I do remember an interesting thing that I did want to pick up on, which you mentioned. We're straight into it.
Straight. I mean, it's almost like we never stop.
Almost like we never stop. You said most organisations struggle with outcomes-based work. I mean, this is a big barrier to people engaging in,
Can I say most organisations?
Oh, so organisations. Most? Some. A percentage of organisations struggle with outcomes-based work. And I guess that's something irrespective, I guess, of if you're going down the gig path or not and getting people in. I imagine it's something that's useful to become better at anyway.
Yeah, I think it's not so much that organisations struggle with it, but they're just so used to you design work into jobs.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then from that job, you look at outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's just flipping that design a little bit. And I think, you know, the whole construct of having this traditional organisation that is quite static is, you know, the underlying assumption is we need the same number of people with the same skills all the time, which kind of can't possibly be true in today's day and age.
Yeah. Is work static all the time? Does your workload not fluctuate ever? Well, the answer's...
No. And not only the workload, but the type of skills. And then we wonder why people are burning out. You know, your learning team or your comms team doesn't need exactly 5 people every day of the year. It just, work doesn't work like that.
No. We're in a, you know, volatile, ambiguous, fast-changing environment, but...
We are. And I mean, you just look at the redundancies in tech at the moment, and it's, you know, look, they're letting go of a lot of TA roles, which were the roles that they were fighting for, you know, 12 months ago, and then were letting go of before that. Like, it's disruptive for organisations. So I think there's just a better way to build in that kind of flexibility into an organisation.
Oh, absolutely. And...
There you go.
Yeah, you've just made a rookie error, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
This is like the rookie stuff. This is the first thing they teach in Connect 4 school is not to do.
This is why I do anything that requires attention in the morning.
And this is now, because of the time management glitch, this is way past the morning now. Yeah. I'm in my prime time.
You're just peeking.
I'm just peeking.
Yeah.
It should be the loser who goes first, because then it gives you an advantage. You've just lost, so you should go first.
Okay.
So we need to invert this, you know, perspective of how we design jobs, looking more at kind of outcomes. What would be, you know, let's say someone's listening to this session and they're like, I'm on board. I do think we need to look better at outcomes. What's the starting point for someone that's kind of trying to get their head around not designing completely around fixed jobs? How do I get the ball rolling, thinking a little bit more flexibly about some of this stuff?
Look, I think firstly, like, I'm not suggesting that there's no place for jobs. Like, there's always going to be a component of an organisation that is core, that is internal, that is based in jobs. But I think the opportunity for managers today is to look at what is the work that needs to be done and pulling out those priorities, and looking at both the time base. So do I need it all the time or do I need it some of the time?
Yeah.
For how long do I see it? There's a lot of design work. So particularly with transformational work, what you need at the start is the design, is the strategy. But then it turns into execution. So often we see organisations bringing in these 200, 300K roles to implement a new program. Yeah, you might need someone of that calibre for the first bit, but then as it moves into BAU, you don't need to be paying those salaries. So looking at what you need over time, and then looking at the different capabilities you need at different points in time.
So part of this then, I guess the challenge...
You've tried to do it to me again on this
I'm
not falling for it.
You're not falling for it again? No. You know, we're at the first time.
Yeah.
What are the challenges I see then, if I put myself in the shoes of a manager, is that part of them about slowing down and trying to project ahead? It's something, you know, there's so many things that need to be done on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. What are your kind of suggestions there? How can someone build this into their way of working in terms of mapping out their work requirements, mapping out their, you know, workload, skills requirements? What can they do to take this from something that might be seen as, you know, a little bit ambiguous, forward thinking, to something they can actually do more frequently as part of their ways of working and ways of thinking?
Yeah, I think, you know, look, what?
Is it my go? Is it your go?
What?
1, 2.
You whispered to me like I was going to be able to stop, whisper back, but also continue the sentence
I know, it's
that I was
like
in the middle of saying. I think it's your turn.
Oh, yeah, go. Sorry.
This is going to be an amazing lesson. Are you going to put one in?
Yeah, I am. I'm just making sure I'm not making any...
Am I allowed to do That's What She Said jokes on
Yeah.
Maybe not.
This is great. I've got you again.
Fuck. This is really taking a turn this afternoon.
This is definitely one of those before and after.
Yeah. I also have the issue that I just realised I haven't had lunch, so I'm like hearing my stomach.
You've got no fuel.
No, I've got no fuel.
And I've just come off a lunch because of my bad time management. So I've got a coffee, I've had food, I'm like
Yeah,
zoned
you're in the zone.
Yeah.
I can't remember what practical. So I think in looking at the resources, let me start that one again. In looking at the work and the business priorities that need to be delivered, there's kind of two options. You either reprioritize or you resource it.
Yeah.
Burning your team out is not a oh God, I thought I was going to make the same mistake there. I'm really paranoid. I don't function in the afternoons. So I think just looking at those priorities of the team that just cannot be absorbed within the existing model. I think the easiest thing is to don't agonize over the brief and coming up with this perfectly scoped. Make that a part of the engagement. Make that a part of the conversation with the on-demand talent. Also just starting to, so I think there's that, how do you respond to that immediate need? So I've got a piece of work in my team that the team can't deliver, and really just jump into it and start to have that conversation rather than agonising over it too much.
Do you think it could almost be even could it be a feeling, because sometimes you get a sense that we're in too deep, we're stretched really thin, and you maybe can't tangibly articulate it being like a piece of work, but something's not quite right, there's some kind of balance not there. Does it? Yeah.
I think that, that's a part of it. But then I think there's another opportunity to just step back and actually go, right, let's look at the makeup of my team.
Yeah.
What is it that I need all of the time and what is it that I need some of the time? We had a great example of a leader earlier in the year who had a resignation, but then looked at the body of work that needed to happen in that space and was like, it's not the one person. Actually, that was one of the pieces you came in and some off. It's not one person. Yeah. I'm actually going to use that budget differently and bring in different capabilities at different times to deliver that work. I think there's the how do you react in the moment to resource up the work, and then how do you step back and maybe have a bit more of a strategic look at how the work is going to be delivered in your team.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it. So it's like there's two angles of approach. It's like, hey, there's an immediate thing, I can feel it or see it or I know it, or it can be a longer term, stepping back and actually just looking at the composition of the team and being a bit more strategic about that side of things. Yeah.
And I think in that short term piece, a lot of leaders, I would say, would see Werkling and independent talent as an alternative to traditional consultancies at the moment. And there's a lot of pain points there. I think the example that I hear all the time is I'm sick of paying $5,000 a day to be sent out a grad, and then I'm training the grad to do the thing that I'm paying $5,000 a day for.
Yes.
Which I think is a part of the shift around, what you do get with a big consultancy is, the brand name, and you get some fairly robust methodology, which can be great in some situations, but can be a little bit too rigid in other situations. Yeah. So I think the alternative is, as opposed to going the brand name, you're going to the individual, and you start to see it as a talent, rather than a procurement process, a talent process. Yeah. Where you go, instead of engaging this supplier, I want to work with this individual to start developing these solutions for me. So I think that's probably, seeing independent talent as a consulting alternative is probably where a lot of organisations are at today. But then how do we start to see it as just a talent alternative or workforce alternative? And by no means am I suggesting that it's going to replace the employee workforce. The thing that I love about the work that I do is organisations need this nimble type of talent, and people are wanting to work in this way. So it's not about casualising the workforce or gig economy. It's kind of, there's a need on both sides of the market that works well.
Which is really cool. It seems like it should be a no-brainer from an organisation's perspective. And we talked at the beginning around it's not necessarily for everyone, but there's definitely a big pool of people that want to work more like this. So it just seems like there should be this magical place where it all is.
And, I often tell, without mentioning your name, but I do tell people quite often, and now it's going to be on this.
On this,
that you do have a
That's gone now.
Oh, that's gone.
But it did. It's a good. That's done. But I'm now so self-motivated that I don't need that anymore. But it was great at the beginning.
At the beginning, Viren would have jobs hit his inbox that he did not want to inspire you for the week.
Keep going.
I do use that example a lot.
It was a great.
In fact, I put it in a presentation.
Did you?
Yeah.
This is what.
Yeah, I scripted out the conversation we had. I didn't use your name.
Oh, it's
everyone can connect the dots now.
They can now. Well, it was.
It's true.
It was very effective. It was great.
Within our community, 90% have no intention of ever returning to a job. There's 10% who are fluid in that if the right, and we've had a few people recently that have gone back in house to some great jobs, but you can't access this type of talent. They don't want to be acquired.
No, they've got and I think this is the going back to that beginning piece around it. It's everyone's got different preferences and design. There is a percentage of the population that wants to be operating more like this. There's a percentage that like working as part of an organisation on a more permanent basis. Something for everyone. Something for everyone. But it's also no, it's my go. Sorry, I've been dilly dallying. There is something for everyone. And it's a win-win on both sides of the equation, which I think is the nice thing. It's not just looking at it from one party's perspective.
And it's a really different way of working. Like, just that, there was someone in Werkling who delivered a piece of work recently around a new way of working for an organisation. And a part of the brief was to do kind of an external scan. It was about adjusting from a 5-day week to a 9-day fortnight, and they did a market scan, worked out what was working, other learnings from other organisations, drafted a board discussion paper, drafted a policy, and the whole thing was like, I don't know, like 12 grand or something like that. Like, it's just for that focused effort. Like, even I don't know, I think it's just how you have less focus on kind of a day rate and more just that outcome.
Yeah, this is the thing we need done. Like,
work. This is the thing that we need done. It's just a completely different type of working. Like, people are quite often, because people are so used to designing work around time, they'll be like, I need someone like 3 days a week for 5 weeks. I'm like, forget about that.
Yeah, ignore that.
What is the oh, well, I need this delivered. I'm like, great, I've got someone who can do that. But how many days a week? I'm like, oh, look, on average, like, I probably has 2 days a week, and 2 days a week is like, like, can't get anything done in 2 days a week. Like, it's such a trigger for organisations. But what they forget is 2 days a week when you're in an internal role, you're going from meeting to meeting, juggling
so much
5 different
noise,
things. Like, there is so much noise. But 2 days of
deep focused work, which
even if you're cutting it across different projects, what you're kind of allocating to that piece of work is 2 days of focused effort. Like, it's a completely different way of working.
Totally, totally. And it's it does. I guess it's another mindset shift, and I think it's around it's less about time, thinking more about what do you need produced, what does good look like when that thing is produced really, really well.
The other thing that we're starting to do more of is to team people up on projects, which is amazing because the business is getting kind of 2 brains for the price of one, and it gives the worklings the chance to act as a team again. And it's, just having those because there is such a very clear outcome, having those ways of working, like getting on the same page, really aligning how they're going to work as a team, because it's clearly critical. Now, it's always critical even when you're working internally, but it's like, well, we're not going to be able to deliver this. We're not going to be able to get paid for this. We're like,
unless we
have to form as a team so we can do this piece of work, which is just awesome. I remember someone sharing the analogy, and I'm terrible at analogies, so I'll probably get it really terribly wrong, but how, directors and producers and crew come together for certain movies, and then they go off and do their own thing, and then they come back together for another movie. Like, it's kind of this bespoke consulting teams that we're pulling together, which is super cool. Again, it kind of works for everyone.
I think it's really cool. It's like, seems like there's some parallels with job share as well. You're getting 2 different skill sets
Yeah, well, yeah, like for some of these,
Sorry,
particularly
I got you. I tricked you again.
I think we probably
There's
just need to
the
use
afternoon
the first
effect.
half.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god.
This is a good, also a good case study in why people shouldn't all work the same hours.
Yeah.
They're different
Oh
people.
my
just
gosh,
operate
imagine what
different,
if we like you watch this and in the morning I'm like,
yeah.
and then in the afternoon I'm like, oh, are we done yet?
This is why the 9 to 5 is dead.
I know.
It doesn't suit everyone.
Right?
Yes. This is a case study in point.
Do you know that I shortly have someone joining the Werkling team, and this blew a family member's, my mum's brain when I told her. But I'm like, oh yeah, she's starting, and then like, I don't know, whatever, week 4 or week 5, she's gonna head off to Boston and work from Boston for like a month. And it's like, what? I'm like, who cares? Like,
Yeah. Does it?
It doesn't matter when, whatever. We're gonna have some crossover in our days, but like, where, when, whatever.
As long as you get the outcome. And I think this is that whole drive towards outcomes based, or being much clearer around outcomes is helpful on a number of different fronts.
Yes.
Shifting towards looking at talent more flexibly, actually offering flexibility from where and when people work, helping deal with issues of overwork. But there's so many benefits in the professional gig model, but also looking at work from a more outcomes-based perspective. I think there's a bit of an overlap there.
Well, I've just got a question around, like, can you flex at an individual level if you can't flex at a team level?
Yeah.
So we ask, we tell our internal teams to, have this wellbeing day, work from home, like, take this time off, pet leave, period leave, like, buy a new hat leave. Oh my gosh.
See, this was a trick to get over the. What did we call it earlier?
So you've got no time management skills or very harsh, like alarm going off mid-sentence time management.
Oh, there's no in between.
There's no in between.
This is stop talking.
And we'll shut up. But we try to build all this flexibility at the individual level, but like, where does the work go?
Yes.
Like, so that's fine if you're like, yeah, you can take the next 3 months off to travel or take these days off, like whatever. But if you can't, how do you resource around that?
Yeah, either the work wasn't important in the first place, and why are we focusing on it?
Yeah.
Or we're just going to redistribute across the team and increase everyone's workload.
Yeah.
And that's not a good outcome.
No. I think work design is just something we've just, yet to get right.
Yeah. And I think it is this, it's still very traditional, isn't it? And I often say, all you need to do is jump on Seek, not that I do that anymore, but jump on Seek, click on the drop-down categories, and it's literally part-time, full-time, contract, casual. But there's nothing, but there's so many more things than that. How can that be the only 4 options that we're still stuck on?
Because that's all we consider, it's a view of, we define talent as employees, not as people doing work in our organisation. So there is a radical shift needed, and what are your thoughts on how we drive this radical shift? What are some of the big things that need to happen to make, shake people up? I mean, we've had one of the biggest things ever happen, and it probably moved the needle a little bit, but it's still slipping. It feels like things are slipping back again. I don't know that it did. I mean, I kind of thought during COVID, the sheer cost of redundancies alone would question how much cost you want to fix into your business. And we've seen it a lot in more recent times with accelerated startup growth. That is just not sustainable.
No.
So I think the biggest shift is probably looking at how you design work in a way that isn't time-based.
What do you think is going to be the thing that...
thing?
What's the thing? Because we had a big thing. I'd have thought this big thing that happened
So
would have done it, but it didn't.
Yes, I agree. So I thought the thing that was going to do it was on the back of COVID that people were like, oh my God, we need more nimble, flexible organisations.
I was...
Like, we've gone from producing gin to producing hand sanitisers, or... the travel industry just shutting down. What I believe will be the trigger now is just more and more people will want to work in this way.
So you reckon it's going to be driven bottom up? It's like people are just like...
Yeah, it's not going to be organisations getting in front of it.
Okay.
It'll be, where's the talent? And we're seeing that a little bit at the moment in OD roles, that they just can't fill those kind of head of type roles, and it's because they've jumped out. And
So they've been the early adopters of like going, yeah.
Well, because it's project-based work,
Yes.
like it lends itself perfectly. Same as comms and, comms type roles. There's a lot of good examples, but I think it will actually be where's the talent, and I've been looking for it. I can't find it in my traditional talent pools, so I'm now going to have to go somewhere else. And I think you look at there's statistics saying 50% of the workforce will be gigged by 2028. You look at the uptake of side hustles as millennials and the next generation enter the workforce. That kind of side hustle culture, I think, will creep more and more over the top of someone's career. So you start to get these portfolio careers rather than the one revenue stream. So I think it will be in changes in the way that people want to work.
That's super interesting, that it's going to be maybe driven bottom up, and that it will just be, you'll have to suck it up and go. If you don't, you're not going to get the people you need.
Yeah.
So let's say we're in a scenario where 50%, 40%, whatever, is working in the more kind of freelance gig capacity. Do you think there's anything different that employers should look out for from a recruitment perspective? So are there different qualities you're looking for from someone in a gig capacity than you are if you're hiring them on a permanent basis? So is there any differentiation in terms of what you look for?
Well, firstly, you're not recruiting them.
No.
So that's the first one. And I think the other probably piece is just you can move so much faster.
Yeah.
So the pace that recruitment, typically you advertise the job and then you wait and then you shortlist and then you interview. Like it can stretch over weeks. Then you have maybe anywhere between 4 to 3 month notice period. And then you wait for someone to get up to speed to actually... So it could be 6 months plus before someone's actually effectively performing. So certainly within Werkling, like when we get a brief, and we had a great example last week, like they met on the Thursday, I think it was, and the gig kicked off on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think I had the brief on like the Wednesday. So for people who want to move quickly, like get in, grab the talent, keep going, because they're also talking to other people as well.
Yeah.
So I think there's that speed to action that's needed. And I know I've put people forward for gigs in the last couple of weeks that haven't progressed, and the leaders now set up meetings with those people for 2 weeks' time. I don't think they're going to be available anymore.
Yeah, because it's the speed.
So it's kind of, first in, best dressed sounds a bit awful, but it's kind of what it is. Like once a freelance or independent talent makes a commitment to a gig, like they're in.
Yeah.
But up until that point, they're kind of having to stay open until they're locked in. So I think that speed is one thing. And I think that speed can be enabled because, yes, you need a level of, values alignment and behaviour, but it's not the same commitment.
Yeah.
You're not finding someone for, that's a different conversation if cultural fit is even the right
phrase.
Culture
fit,
but you're kind of just looking for someone to come in and do this piece of work.
You're
not looking for this breadth, you're not looking at potential, you're not looking for all these other things, you're looking for someone who can come and do this thing now.
Yeah, really interesting distinction. So you're not necessarily saying like that whole culture contribution piece is not important, but it's potentially less important, and you are more interested in how quickly they're going to hit the ground running. It needs to be almost immediately if you're bringing someone on.
And it's a very
in a gig
different,
capacity.
that onboarding bit, when you're in a traditional role, it's 3 months.
You need to learn all about the organisation
learn it all. Whereas these people come in with that consulting mindset where they're like, yes, I need the context that relates to this.
Yeah, what's the minimum amount of information I need to know to be able to deliver what I need to deliver?
And, we've got a gig actually kicking off today where it's like, right, I'm doing 1 day of discovery. So it's like literally like how much give me all the data, all the people I need to speak to, get it all in so then I can be effective tomorrow. Like if I'm spending a day doing this discovery, how am I? So it's a completely different onboarding process.
So in that one, so I guess if we're hoping, bring the gig people in, we want them to hit the ground running quite quickly. And you've obviously got, Werkling's great because people are coming in, peer recommended, other client recommended, so these are good people, so you've got more confidence. Are there other things you find your clients look for to get that confidence of this person is going to be able to hit the ground running quickly?
I think having delivered a similar sort of project before, which it's not always completely necessary. And I think particularly for those gigs that are in the people and culture space, like, because I actually wouldn't want someone who's done that thing before, because the way we've done things traditionally hasn't necessarily worked. But to show that you've done similar sorts of projects and what they've achieved, the thing that a lot of businesses like about Worklings is that they have come out of quite senior internal roles.
Yeah.
So for someone who was a, GM of employee experience at Medibank or Officeworks or Transurban or those kind of places, like, they have been in that mess. And I think that's a good distinction between your kind of big consultancies and your career consultants, where you've kind of been in that environment, whereas our community have been in the inevitably icky mess that is an organisation where everything is imperfect. So I think looking for someone who has had that real in-organisation experience, and who's probably, particularly where there's high interdependencies within the team, or you want to take a learning approach and a co-design approach with the team, just making sure there's a good feel. But it's particularly where there's a sized piece of work, you're not making a forever decision here, right? You're getting someone in to deliver this one piece of work. If they deliver that piece of work and they were the right fit and you love them and you want to use them again, great.
Awesome.
They deliver that piece of work and, like, maybe it wasn't the right gel, then you've still got that piece of work delivered and you try, you use someone else again in the future. But, these are short-term pieces of work and long-term relationships. Yeah. So you can keep bringing them in.
That's so cool. And I guess that's what I've seen from you. Your magic power is the matching piece. Is like, so you're so good at kind of getting the fit right as well. I think.
I was actually meant to be an Indian matchmaker. That's what I was meant to be.
That is your skill.
Yes.
That is.
Yes, matchmaking.
So it's a good time to segue because the timer, and so the last few questions.
Yeah, I know your timer went off and you're still bloody asking questions.
I know, but I do have a few last questions to wrap up. I can't help it. The first one
do
is.
You think anyone's going to listen to all of this?
I hope there's at least one person that will. At least one. It's.
If anyone has listened to all of this, can you please send me a message?
Oh, you're throwing it me.
That's my business development technique.
Yeah. If you got to the end of this,
you
must love what I've been saying.
You must be vibing.
What's next for Werkling? What are you kind of excited about? Yeah, what's the...
I'm very excited because I've been saying for like 6 months that our new platform's 2 weeks away, but now I think I actually
2 weeks away.
It is 2 weeks away.
I'm gonna check.
You are.
Well, I'll be on it.
You'll be on it?
Yeah, I'll be using it.
Yeah.
So it better be 2 weeks.
Yeah. You will be doing my testing for me. So that'll be just...
With my attention to detail.
Yeah, you're not the right person. That'll be super exciting. And, I think... I find this whole, like, HR tech and talent tech really interesting. And I think there's so much that can be automated, but there always just needs to be a human side of it. So... I think for us, it's like, yes, how do you get the technology there that can help us scale and help provide, the best experience, but then that balance with that community side where, we're kind of like the gig economy with heart, like, and, to have that real human connection, because that's a bit that is, makes me happy. So that's exciting. And yeah, just lots of cool organisations who are ready to think differently.
That's super cool. I totally echo that. I think it is, technology augmenting then the human side of things, and I still think that's a key part. And I think you'd mentioned earlier, even the internal mobility piece is not just a technology. It is not just a technology issue.
There's a lot of tech promising a lot of things at the moment, and I'm sure some of it will deliver and others won't.
Yeah.
I mean, your products.
That is going to deliver. But mine is all about augmenting the human connection.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a big believer in that. Not substituting is how do we, technology helps people do the human stuff. Do the human stuff. People don't have to be human, but like makes it better, more fun, and more meaningful. So I think that's sometimes where we get stuck.
Yes.
And then the last question.
Oh God,
I
there's
know.
another one.
Personally, what are you looking forward to? Personally.
Getting out of this no. Personally, what am I
Finishing
looking
this.
forward to? Well, this afternoon I will be going to the Chelsea Primary School production
Woo!
of something. I can't remember the name of it. But my son is singing with his prep class a classic Ronan Keating song.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm looking forward to this evening. And actually taking the first real holiday in a while next month.
Where are you going?
Which Cairns.
Oh, Cairns.
Yeah,
Get some.
Cairns. Get some rays.
Get some rays.
Yeah, so they're probably two big things.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. Well, it's been before the battery gets chopped off and we get stuck again.
After you edit all of our laughter
We're gonna
out,
see,
it's going to
yeah.
be like a very short episode.
And laughter stays in. Laughter stays in. Some technical glitches get edited. Some stay in. You're knocking over the Connect 4 at the beginning, staying in for sure. Awesome to have you on and really good to dive deeper into this topic. I think it's a really
Thank you.
fascinating topic. I'm firmly on board. I do think the future is more flexible. We've got to be more nimble. I think just everyone just get on board. Like, get on board. Try it. Jump in.
You get
pick
to
a gig.
you
pick
get
a
to
safe
use
gig.
people like him.
Jump in.